In this Nitty-Gritty Basics Let's Play live stream, we're going to be playing American Mah Jongg at I Love Maj. If you've not tried playing at I Love Maj before and you'd like to extend your trial from 2 weeks to 3 weeks, use MAHJLIFE in your promo code and take advantage of their exercise room. And we're going to spend some time in there so you'll see the benefits. Today's topic is exercising Charleston options. So if you are new to the game and you, that's my guard dog, Riley. He's a little poodle. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me put him in the back. Clearly, Dudley, his nemesis, is outside. So hold on. Riley, no. Come on, in the back. Come on. Right now. Go lay down. Go on. Okay. I'm back. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry about that. All right, so as I was saying, if you're new to the game and you have trouble picking a hand, figuring out how to get started and how to make decisions when these tiles are coming through during the Charleston, this is the episode for you. So I hope that you'll find it helpful. And if you don't, send me an email and I would love to figure out how I can guide you to some other topics that might be helpful. I want to say thank you so much to our channel members. We actually have a new channel member, Dee. Welcome. I want to say thank you to our subscribers. I appreciate your support and thank you so much for sharing about MAHJLIFE. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started on this topic of exercising Charleston options. Hello. Hopefully it'll be much quieter now. I put Riley in the back, so no more interruptions, hopefully. Oh, wait, I got to get this slideshow in presenter mode. Okay, here we go. And if you're new to my channel, this is Riley. That is Riley. And that is Dudley. Riley, Dudley. Riley, Dudley. So now you know. All right, let's get started. Exercising Charleston options. You got to make a lot of choices, which is one reason why we like playing this game. It keeps your mind active. When you first start playing this game, after you learn the very fundamentals, like how to read the card, it's a challenge and it's complex. Everything is hard before it's easy. Everybody started in the same place. So if you're struggling, don't be hard on yourself. It's part of the journey. Embrace it. When you play this game, think of it in phases. The first phase is what the Charleston. That would be when you get your dealt tiles and you do a series of passes to transform your dealt hand. And the reason why I chose the Charleston as the big part of this pie is because this is where the transformation happens. This is where you take randomly dealt tiles, and then in those series of passes, you improve it so that when you get to the next phase of the game, the play, where you pick and discard one tile at a time, you have a better chance of completing your hand in a decent amount of time. And then the third part of the game is the pay. The Charleston, the play, and the pay. These are the different parts of the game. And you might think to yourself, okay, well, why is the pay such a big deal? Because each player is responsible for sharing the value of their hand. And if you're playing in a group where you are rewarded for your effort, you want to be able to announce it correctly. And that includes things like self-picked win, jokerless hand. If you're playing with any house rules, whatever amount you announce to your opponents, that is what you're going to reap. And if you make an error, there's no backsies. So that is part of the game. It's a little part of the game compared to the other two. But this is what I put in my mind as far as the phases of the game. And I put a great importance on the Charleston. And we're going to talk a little more about the second Charleston in particular, because I see all kinds of things going on in social media where many groups, it seems there's this trend where many groups are omitting the second Charleston. The game was designed to include a second Charleston for a reason. So we'll talk more about that. If you harness the power of the Charleston, you can optimize your potential to win. It is a critical phase of the game. During the Charleston, you have options. We're going to talk about how to get started, how to pass defensively, when to pass blind, when to stop round 2, when to take risks, and how to measure your results. Does anybody have any questions? I'll give you a minute to catch up. Let me know in chat if anybody has any questions or concerns. If there's anything in this agenda that is missing, let me know and I'll try to work it in. If there's no questions, we're going to keep going. Okay, here we go. So how to get started. The purpose of the Charleston is to accelerate hand development. I use the word expedite. Expedite hand development, because you want to be the first person to complete a hand on the card. In Mahjong, that is going to mean that you're going to improve your dealt hand by participating in the Charleston, whereby players exchange up to 21 tiles and up to 7 passes. That's the design of the Charleston. So if you have this particular dealt hand, and incidentally, all these screenshots are real. These are from games that I've played at I Love Maj, and I would take screenshots of my starting position and then during the Charleston, the different things that might happen, so that you can kind of get an idea of with examples on the kinds of decision making that you'll need to work on and eventually master. So here we have a dealt hand, and you see that we have no multiples. American Mah Jongg is a game of multiples. So if you have a pair, you would want to target that pair because eventually you're going to need them. Every hand on the card uses multiples. So if you have multiples, target the multiples and let that drive the hand. Or if you have more than one, let those multiples drive the hand. But sometimes you'll start out with something like this, where you have no multiples. Well, that is when you look for the predominant pattern. And if you see in here, oh, here we do have a multiple. I'm sorry, we have a 7-dot pair. The yellow bars indicate the pair. I'm sorry, I didn't see. For some reason, I missed the pair. But so here we would want to let the 7-dot drive the hand. If let's say that's a 6-dot and not a 7-dot, then you would look for the predominant pattern, which in this case is odds anyway. So we'd probably let the 6 go if that were this particular example. But in this one, it's a pair of 7s. So if you're playing odds, then you know you're not going to need evens and you can discard those. And more likely than not, we won't use the dragon. There is a hand second from the bottom that uses the opposite dragon. So there is some potential with that dragon, but we've got to be able to pass. You have to pass 3 tiles. So I would probably focus on odds and pass 2 bam 4-dot green dragon here. And then gather odds with the 7-dot in mind, because that is the multiple. Let the multiple drive the decisions. Or let the multiple be the primary factor when you're making decisions as you develop the hand. Any questions? Okay, we're going to keep going. So in this particular hand, here's the one where we have no, well, aside from the pair, the number tiles, and other than that pair of flowers, there are no multiples. So because flowers are in, I believe it's 44% of the hands on the card, the rest of the tiles, there's no, it appears that there's no real strength. But when you have no multiples in the number tiles or even winds and dragons, then you want to look for the predominant pattern. And in this case, the predominant pattern would be probably evens or like numbers, because we do have all the twos in here. So evens or like numbers. And I would discard the north or pass, which are, these are discards, the north, the 9 bam, and the 7 crack, and focus on evens until a multiple forms, and then reassess. So I wouldn't even look at the card. You do not have to look at the card until you run out of discards. You just gather. The first part of hand development is gathering tiles. It can be used to support the strength of your hand. Then you're going to start building eventually, where you're going to need to have bigger multiples other than pairs, unless you're just playing singles and pairs, which is that last category on the card. But everywhere else on the card, you're going to need pung kong, and then maybe even quints if you're brave and you have lots of jokers for that category. So here's another example of when you don't have a pair and you look for the predominant pattern. One thing I like to do when I have no multiples is I look for like numbers, and that will tell me usually the predominant pattern. So in this case, we have 2 4s, we have 3 8s. Since we have 2 4s and 3 8s, I would focus on a category that would use the 8s, and the supporting tiles with 8s would be 6, 7, 8, 9, or 5 through 8, 5 through 8, 6 through 9, even maybe 5 through 9, depending on how the tiles come in. So I would discard the 3 bam, the 4 crack, and the 1 dot. And there's even a potential to use the east-west, because there's east-west and north-south hands with runs in the wind and dragon category. So you might think to yourself, well, if you have all the 8s and you have 2 4s, why not play 2 4 6 8? You have no 2. That's a gap. Anytime you have a gap, that particular option should be lower on the list that you're going to be focused on. 6, 7, 8, 9 has much more potential because there's no gaps with that range of numbers. With 2, 4, 6, 8, there's no 2. So you're gathering tiles where you have a gap. And you might get a 2, but to make decisions on what you might get is not as strong as gathering tiles where you have no gaps, where you have strength. So you want to gather tiles to support the strength of the hand. So in this case, we ended up with a pair of 7s. So that really edified that we're going to be playing a 6, 7, 8, 9 hand. 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, maybe with east and west. So as the hand develops, leverage the multiples that develop and try to incorporate them into whatever category or hand you decide to play, because American Mah Jongg is a game of multiples. Let's see. So now here's another example. We have, actually, I think this is the same hand later in the Charleston. We ended up with a pung of 7 bams, an 8 bam, then an 8 crack, 8 dot, and then almost news here. So we could maybe play news concealed now, or east and west with 7, 8, third hand down under winds and dragons. If we were to get, let's say, a 9 dot, we could maybe even play the consecutive run concealed hand, which I love. I love that hand. So try not to pick a hand until you run out of discards and just gather for the strength of the hand. In this case, we still have 2 discards. So you don't need to pick a hand here. We have 2 discards, so we're going to just keep gathering. Stay at the category level for as long as possible. And what I mean by that is don't look at the hands that you might be able to play until either you have to make a decision during the Charleston to let a keeper go, or one of your tiles is discarded once you're in that pick and discard phase of the game, and you could potentially call the tile. That would be the moment, or either of those cases would be the moment where you would want to look at the hands. But before then, just focus on gathering for the category and keep any tile that can be used in that category. Stay at the category level. Keep tiles that can be used in the category regardless of suit. There are way more hands on the card in mixed suits than in one suit. I believe it's 86% of the hands on the card are in mixed suits. And I believe I have a chart in here that shows that. When you run out of discards, reduce your options based on the strength to continue passing. Excuse me. If you're in between, pick the option with no gaps. So that example where we had 2, 4, 6, 8, or 6, 7, 8, 9, because we had lots of 8s and we had 2 4s, we had a gap with the 2, no 2. So we went with 6, 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 5, 6, 7, 8, and we let the even category go. Let the category go where you have a gap and focus on the strength where you have no gaps. So let's talk next about how to pass defensively, unless anybody has any questions about how to get started. Target multiples or look for the predominant pattern. Either way, identify the strength of your hand and gather tiles to support the strength of your hand. That's how you get started. And don't pick a hand until you run out of discards. You're gathering for the category. That is the key. And it also quickens the game because you're not analyzing at the hand level. All you're doing is staying high level at the category and you're gathering for the category. All right, so we're going to keep going. How to pass defensively. Here are the best to worst case passes, in my opinion. A different number tile from each suit. So let's say 1 dot, 4 crack, 9 bam. Different number tile from each suit. That's one of the most benign passes you can do. The next would be a single window dragon in mixed suits with mixed tiles. So for example, you could do a 2 crack, 7 bam with a west. That would be a benign pass. 2 different suits, little number, big number, even, odd, and then maybe a wind. That would be another really good defensive pass. If you pass all the same category, for example, consecutive numbers, let's say you pass 6, 7, 8, that would be pretty risky. Or let's say you pass 1, 3, 5, or you pass 4, 6, 8, or you pass 2, 4 white dragon. Those kinds of passes would be more risky than the first 2. All the same suit, if you pass, for example, 2, 3, 4 in dots, or maybe 5, 7, 9 in cracks. Anytime you pass tiles in the same suit, that is a little bit more risky than passing in the same category. Also, passing white dragons is risky because it is a dual tile. It can be used as a 0 or a white dragon. So white dragons are risky, and so are flowers. So you want to pass these rarely. Now, these are not hard coded. These are guidelines. So sometimes you're going to need to break these rules depending on your level of hand development that you've reached. So, and we're going to talk about that as we go, but you want to try to limit passing white dragons and flowers, because the white dragon is a dual tile and flowers are in about 44% of the hands on the card, which is close enough to half, as far as I'm concerned, to make it a risk. Next would be passing like numbers or pairs. This would be very risky. Passing like numbers is a step below passing pairs, but I would say passing these as a last resort is wise, because like numbers is in almost half the hands on the card, and then also pairs are all over the card. It's the name of the game. Multiples. American Mah Jongg is a game of multiples. So try not to pass pairs. I very rarely do that. If I know what hand I'm playing and I have maybe 2 tiles left and it's a pair and I'm playing a pair hand with no gaps, I might do it, but it would be, I probably would just pass 1 if I'm in the last right or optional across. And same with like numbers. I would try to do everything I can to limit that kind of a pass. So does anybody have any questions about the best or worst case passes? Does anybody else have something on here that you would want to add? This is the way I play the game and the way I pass my tiles. These are the guidelines I use to pass defensively. Now, not everybody likes to pass defensively. Some people don't care. Some people, all they focus on is their hand development, and they will pass anything. Pair, like numbers, flowers. I even received one time a pair of winds and a wind. I've received a pair of dragons and a dragon. I've gotten a flower with a white dragon and a 2. So some people don't put an emphasis on defensive passing, and that can affect the game. So if you do your best to pass defensively, that is what is in your control. And what I advise is to focus on what you can control. You cannot control how other people play the game, but you can control how you play the game. And I highly recommend a defensive approach, because you don't want to help your opponents. During the Charleston, you're giving away tiles to your opponents. So if you give them a pair and a flower, and they happen to be in that suit, or they happen to be gathering those tiles, they're probably going to win before you, long before you are even ready. So I highly recommend passing defensively. So here's an example. I think, bear with me for 1 second. I have some examples here. Here's the first one, East, 1 bam, 7 crack. That would be number 1 on this list as an example. Okay, so now after you identify the strength of a hand and you gather supporting tiles, pass as defensively as possible with your remaining tiles. Sometimes, especially as the Charleston progresses, your passes are going to get more and more risky, because you're going to get more and more keepers, hopefully. So it's okay if you have to pass something risky, especially if you were able to develop a hand nicely. So here's an example of a hand where you could either play like numbers with 9s and news, or maybe a 3-6-9 hand. And we have tiles that we can pass. I would keep the south, because with news and like numbers, like number hand number 3, that would be a keeper probably. So I would maybe pass, let's say 1.2.8 bam, or maybe 1. Red dragon 8 bam would probably be a good pass as well. So here we ended up with a north now and news, and we still have 2 pair of like numbers with news, which is equivalent to a Kong, 4 numbers in a block, or 4 tiles in a block. News, it's not a Kong, it's not 4 identical tiles, but it is a complete block of 4 tiles that is used on the card, news. So I would focus on 9s with news and let the 3 crack go, because I wouldn't pass 2 dragons. I would break up the 3 crack, pass the 1 dam and 1 of the dragons, probably the green one, because it doesn't correspond with the 3 crack. Okay, so now in this case, the next thing that happened, we've gotten a 6 crack, and that could be useful if we play 3, 6, 9. So I would pass 4 bam, 5 crack with the dragon and keep the 6, but I would still probably focus on like numbers with 9s and news. And then you can see here we got a 3 crack back, and I would just let that go. Even though it's become a multiple, I would still focus on like numbers with news and 9s, because that would use 2 multiples and then the block of news, which is strong. And then it looks like I would just discard the 3 crack 4 red. That would be pretty risky. Probably what would be better is to let the 6 crack go with maybe past the 6 crack, 3 crack, and the red. That would be risky too. If you're in the optional across, maybe even just pass 2. And that way you're going to mitigate the risk a little bit. Pass the red dragon and the 4 crack and keep the 3 for 3, 6, 9, and then let the wins go later. So the whole idea is to gather tiles for the strength of your hand, give yourself some options. We could play either like numbers with 9s and news or something in 3, 6, 9. So that's what it would look like at the end. We got a 7 dot there and a red dragon that could be given in the optional across. And that's a great pass. So in the end, I would still, even though there's 3 cracks, I would still play like numbers with news with 9s and let the 3 cracks go. 3 crack in here is a pung. The 9 cracks, 2 pair, that's 4 tiles. So that's 1 more tile, and we don't have a 6 anymore, which is a gap. So I would not play 3, 6, 9 here. You could even use the 3 crack as joker bait. However, if you don't know about joker bait, I'm sure we're going to have an opportunity to talk about it. It's when you keep a pair you don't need, you discard 1 in the middle of the game, and hopefully someone will make an exposure with a joker, and then on your next turn you use the other tile to do the exchange. In this case, we have 3 3s, so it's really not good joker bait typically, because someone's going to need at least a 3 crack plus a joker, or 2 jokers, and they're going to need to risk the jokers. So usually a pung is not good joker bait. It's a pair that makes a strong potential for joker bait. All right, now let's talk about when to pass blind. The first priority when you're developing your hand through gathering tiles during the Charleston, that's the first priority, gathering tiles to support the strength of your hand. You want to pass as defensively as possible with your remaining tiles. There's always going to be some level of risk in every pass. You just need to mitigate the risk as best you can with whatever tiles you're not going to want to keep. So mitigate the risk as best you can and let the tiles go. Sometimes that means you're going to need to send off a risky pass, and that's okay, because your first priority is to develop your hand. If your hand has progressed to the point where you have less than 3 tiles to pass, or you have tiles that create a risky pass, you could consider passing blind. There are ramifications for that, though. First of all, you're limiting what you're going to get. You're also going to be passing a tile that you're not going to see. So you could be passing a pair even at times. If you give away 2 and then you take a tile blind, that could already be in your pass. You could potentially be passing a pair and you'll never know. And also it throws up a red flag at the table. Sometimes it could mean that someone can't decide what hand they're playing. Maybe they have a couple of options, so they're passing blind because they can't decide. That's not a good reason to pass blind, because you're just delaying the inevitable. You're going to eventually have to pick a hand anyway if you're that close. It's better to pick the strongest option and pass fully, because then you're not going to raise a red flag and you're not going to pass something unseen that could create a risky pass, and you're going to receive 3 tiles that could potentially help you with your strongest option. Sometimes, though, you may have one option and still only 2 tiles to pass. That's a great place to be. So I would pass blind. When you're in between, whether you're in between categories or in between hands, don't pass blind. Choose a hand that uses most of your multiples, or if you have no multiples, most of your tiles. If there are gaps for one of the hands or categories, choose the one with no gaps. That is going to be stronger. And that way you can pass fully and let the weaker tiles go. If you're committed to one hand with 4 or more discards, or 4 or more discards, or let's say you're committed to a hand and you have a gap and 3 discards, don't pass blind. Pass normally on the second left. If you run out of discards on the cross pass, sacrifice a tile. When you're playing a jokerless hand with singles, pass a single, because you can maybe claim it to win. You want to try not to pass anything that will leave a gap. So I think I talk about that here. When not playing a jokerless hand, pass a tile that will not leave a gap. The sacrifice, if the sacrifice was adverse, you can recover in the pick and discard phase of the game. So let's say that you have a pair. Let one of those pair tiles go. And let's say you have a joker as well, and someone in the pick and discard phase of the game discards that tile, you can pung. So you can recover that tile. And if it doesn't get discarded, then you can maybe just use a joker or change your hand. But I would not stop the Charleston if you are in between. That's the bottom line. So let's say that you're committed to a hand or two with only 2 discards. You're committed to one hand with 2 discards. And let's say you have all risky discards, like you have a flower, a white dragon, and a 2 bam. I might consider passing blind to mitigate the risk of that kind of a pass, and just pass a 2 with a white dragon and then pass 1 blind. If the number of tiles you pass blind is situational, but pass as few blind as possible, a risky pass may be worth it if you're set, meaning you can claim a discard for every block on the in your hand. If you have maybe just 2 tiles to go to complete your hand, these would be reasons to keep going. Also, pass the most innocuous tiles, especially because you don't know what that supplement tile is. So you want to try to mitigate the risk as best you can. So again, you want to develop your hand as the first priority. Pass as defensively as possible. Stay flexible, though, as best you can, especially if you're in between. It's just a matter of whether you whittle down options during the Charleston or during the pick and discard phase of the game. It's better to make a choice in the Charleston, because that's where the transformation happens. Okay, so here's an example. We have 2, 4, 6, 8 in here. We have 2 1 cracks and a 3 dot and a 3 bam. So we would have to pass like numbers. So would you pass blind here? I probably, let's see, with 2, 4, 6, 8, I don't know what hand I'm playing. I would not pass blind here. I would probably let one of the, let's see, I'd probably let maybe the 4 crack go and pass 1 bam, 3 dot, 4 crack, because I don't even know what hand I would play here. It's not really gelling yet. So here's another example of a hand, we've got a lot of 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a 1 crack, 6 bam with maybe, let's say, an 8 crack. We would not pass blind here because there are plenty of discards in here. Even though the 1 crack is in the range of 1, 2, 3, 4, it's kind of isolated from the 4 crack, and it really can't be used with the rest of the 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles the way it is. It's just not quite gelling here. So I would not pass blind here either. So here we have maybe odds number 6. 1, 2, 3, 6. So let's say we could do 1, 3 dot with 3, 5 bam and the red dragon. There's a gap though, no 1. No 1 dot. That would be a pair gap for that hand. Second hand from the bottom. So on this one, you might consider passing blind because you wouldn't want to pass 2 wins. 2 wins would be close to passing like numbers. That would be pretty risky. So maybe pass blind and pass 1 wind and 1 crack, and then see if you can get a 1 dot to strengthen your hand and then take on more risk. When to stop round 2, because this is the next step, the second Charleston. If you're in between, don't stop the Charleston for the same reason. Choose a hand that uses your multiples. If you have no multiples, most of your tiles, if there are gaps, choose the option with no gaps. If you're committed to a hand with 4 discards or more, or if you're committed to a hand and you have a gap with 3 discards, don't stop the Charleston. Keep going. Pass normally on the second left. If you run out of discards on the optional across, sacrifice the tile. Pass a single tile if you're playing a single and pair hand, or pass a tile that will not leave a gap. Don't stop the Charleston. Keep going because you're going to get 9 more tiles potentially. If you're committed to one hand and with only, let's say, 1 or 2 discards, or let's say that you are playing a pair hand and you have 3 or fewer discards, you might consider stopping the Charleston. But know that if you negotiate in the optional across with 3 tiles, you're going to get some criticism probably, because I would venture to guess that someone is going to say, if you have 3 tiles, you should have continued the Charleston. So that is why I say negotiate for 2, and that way you won't get scrutinized. So if you decide to stop the Charleston and you actually have 3 tiles to pass, in the offer, say you want 2. A lot of people will stop the Charleston if they have only 2 good tiles to pass. So you will not likely get that scrutiny from other players if you say you only want 2. Also, know that a lot of players will not pass with someone who stopped the Charleston. Don't take it personally. It is part of the game. It is not mean to not pass or to decline an optional across with someone who stopped the Charleston. That person is not being mean or rude. It is part of the game. So if someone across from you stopped the Charleston, don't pass with them, because it is likely that they're going to be either ready, very close to ready, or they're nearing that ready status, and you don't want to help them further. But also, if they're in between, it could be a good lesson learned for them to not straddle. Maybe they should have picked the stronger option, so they could have continued the Charleston and not stopped it. So those are the reasons why you would want to modify your tactics in the optional across. Okay, now we have a couple of examples. So here we have a pair 6 bams, pair 2 crack, pair 8 crack. Would you stop the Charleston here? I would not. I would probably play 6, 7, 8 with flowers, break up the 8 dot, pass a red dragon with a 2 bam. So I would not stop the Charleston here. Even though you've got a good chance at 2, 4, 6, 8, you have no 4. So I would focus on consecutive run. Here we have like numbers with news and fives probably. I would not stop the Charleston here either. I would pass 2 wins and a 4 dot. Passing 2 wins is not as risky as passing 2 fours. Passing 2 fours is almost as risky as passing a pair. So kind of in that hierarchy, if you go from high risk to lower risk, passing a pair is the highest. Passing like numbers is second. Passing 2 wins or 2 dragons, for example, would be the third level of risk. So that's what I would do here. I would keep going and take on the risk because I have a hand with no gaps. I have 1 away from news in my hand. I need a south, and I have 2 multiples and a joker. So I have a pretty good chance of having a really strong hand after the Charleston if I continue to pass. So here's a situation where we have a singles and pairs hand and we have only 2 discards. So would you stop the Charleston here? Yes, I would. I would stop the Charleston and I would ask for 2, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody declines my offer, and I would be okay with that. So when to take risks? You want to take risks when you have a well-developed hand or when you're playing a high point hand. Now let's talk quickly about how to measure results and how much risk you can take depending on your position. So when you get started, if you have, let's say, a hand that you know what hand you're playing and you have 4 discards, more than 4 discards, you're going to likely be an underdog. So in this case, let's say we're playing 3, well, we really don't even know what hand we're playing here. It could be a lot of things. 1, 2, crack, 3, 4 dot. We could use the 5 dot as joker bait, but that leaves 5 discards. We would be an underdog here. There are three different hands we could potentially play. So there are way too many options. Even though we have all the tiles in a range of 5 numbers, there are just way too many choices, and we can't keep all these tiles. So I would say we would be an underdog here. So then you would want to take a low risk approach when you play the game. Here, we're playing year number 4. We have 5 discards. We would again be an underdog. Lots of discards here. Here we have consecutive run number 4, 7, 8, 9, probably single pair Kong, and we have, you could do 7, 8, 7, 8, 9 dot, or 9 crack, 7, 8 bam, 7, 8 dot, 9 crack. There's kind of an option there. I would say we would be probably a front runner here or a contender depending on which hand you play. If you played 7, 8 bam, 7, 8 dot with 9 crack and then use the 9 bam as joker bait, you would have 2 discards with joker bait. I would say you would be a front runner on this one. But if you played 7, 8, 9 single pair Kong, you need to discard a pair tile and you would have 3 discards. That's technically 4 discards. So you would be a contender and you would want to take moderate risks. Now, if you're playing a hand, you have no gaps, you know what hand you're playing. I would say here, even though we know what hand we're playing, we have no gaps. We need a Kong of 5s and we need a Pung of 1s and we have only 1. It's a bit weak, but it's still a good hand, a good level of development, but we have 4 discards. So I would say this would be a contender. And then here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, Pung, Pung, Kong, Kong, 7-2 under consecutive run. I would say here we'd be a front runner. And we have 3 discards with joker bait. We have a really strong potential to win this hand. So I would take on every risk. Regardless of risk, I would play to win. So that is the process that you can go through when you think about assessing your position and how much risk you can take going into the next phase of the game. Here's another one, 2, 4, 6, 8, number 2, 3 discards, front runner. I would play to win hard and fast here. I would claim every discard I could and try to win before anybody else has a chance to continue developing their hand. The idea here with all these options and also estimating your results and identifying your position and figuring out how much risk you can take in the game, that leads to the smarter you play, the luckier you will be. All right, we're going to go play at I Love Mah and demonstrate all these ideas. So I'm going to open up I Love Mah. We're going to change the outlay or the layout there. And if you haven't played at I Love Mah, when you go to the play section, you're going to see Game Launchpad. This is where you play with robots. But I want to do Charleston modeling first. So we're going to go in the exercise room where they have five different activities that you can do to help with your decision making. Build your skills here. It's a wonderful benefit to playing at I Love Mah. This is a feature that is not available in the other platforms, which is one reason why I recommend it, especially for beginners. So we're going to go to Charleston practice and we're going to do some Charleston modeling, just one considering the time. So we'll do Charleston modeling and then we'll play with robots. So we're going to do the Charleston. We're going to talk about Charleston options. So here we have North, red, white, singles, 4-bam, 5-7, pair 4, 1-6 and crack, singles, 2-4-5-6-8, or 2-5-6-8 and dots, singles. So if these were your tiles, what would you focus on? What would you focus on? What category? Or is your eye drawn to anything in particular here? Write it in the chat. And I'll give you 10 seconds and then I'll share what I would do. Okay, if these were my tiles, I would start with 4. That's pair. Target multiples. 2-4-6-8. 2-4-6-8 says Karen. We could do 2-4-6-8. So let's just look at that really quick. Here's 2, 6, 8 in dots. And then we have a 6 crack. So we have 2, 6, 8 in dots, 4-band pair, and a 6. So that's 6 tiles. That has some potential. But I think 4, 5, 6, 7 has greater potential because it's consecutive. Consecutive run has far greater flexibility than the other categories on the card. And in this case, we don't even have to make a decision because we have enough discards. We can keep evens and we can keep consecutive run. So we're in between evens and consecutive run. Both will use the 4. So here's a pass. 1 crack, red dragon, north. That's a great pass. Actually, we could make that even better by letting the 9 dot go because it doesn't correspond to the dragon. So that would be even a more benign pass. Okay, we ended up with 2-4. So I would focus on 2-4-6-8. Even though consecutive run has greater flexibility, we have a pair of 2 dots and a pung of 4s. And we have 6-8 in here as well. I would probably keep the 5-bam in case we get a 3 dot and then switch to consecutive run 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think what I would do is probably pass the 1 crack with a dragon, and then I would let something in here go, probably that 7 crack or 7-bam. We clearly don't need that, and we can still keep 4, 5, 6, and 2, 4, 6, 8. Probably the 5 dot would be a good discard. We'll see. We just got a 5 dot and a 5-bam. Oops. Okay, so let's see. 1 dot. Actually, we have a 1-2 there now. So we have 1-2 dot, 5 dot pair, 6-8. So 2 dot, 5 dot pair. Then we have 4-bam pung and a 5-bam pair. So we have much more strength with 4-5 then we do 2, 4, 6, 8. And the 2 dot is really not useful without a 4 dot. And the 4 bam is really not useful without a 6 bam, with the way that the hands are designed in this year's card. So if this were my hand, I would focus on consecutive run and let the evens go. So I would hold 1, 2, 3, 4, or 2, 3, 4, 5. So I would let the 8 dot go with a 6 and probably the white dragon. And focus on 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably the 6 dot will go next. So here's another 5. And I would keep going. We've got discards, and we still don't have to look at the card. South, red, 6 dot. And we're focused on 1 through 5 of some kind. We don't need to look at the card. We're just going to keep gathering. No keepers. We have north, 7, 8. Here's a 4 and a 6. So we have 1 clear discard. Otherwise, we have 1 through 6. If you look at the hands on the card, the numbers are all up to 5 numbers in a range. So we're not going to go from 1 to 6, not with the way these tiles or the hands are designed for the game. So either the 6 will go or the 1 will go. Because our pung is with a 4 bam, 4, 5, I probably would let the 1 dot go here. And then now we have to even let something else go, because we're actually on the second right. We could pass blind, but I would focus on probably 4, 5, 6, because we have no 3. And that way I can pass fully and just break up that 2. And that's because we have no 3. That would be an example of a gap. So we let go of the 2 because we have no 3 to connect the 2 with 4, 5, 6. There's a gap in there. So just break it up and let it go. We're playing some kind of 4, 5, 6. So now there's a 4, 6, and we have 2 clear discards. So we have 5 dot pair, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6 of some kind. We don't have to pick a hand. It's not quite gelling at the moment. I would just continue to gather. And I would say in the optional, I want 2. Keep my options open and see what comes in. So the way this worked out is actually quite amazing. We have potential for the concealed hand. 4, 5 bam, 4, 5 crack, pair 6 dot. We have only 1 6 dot, so it's a little weak, but there's no gaps. We have a pair of 6, let's see, 4, 5. We have a pair of 6 dots or 6 cracks and a pair of 5 dots and then a 1 bam. So we have 2 joker bait there and a 1 bam. I'd say still we're probably an underdog until we gather more tiles, 4, 5, or maybe that 6 dot. If we get even one of those in the first few picks in the next phase of the game, I would say we could bump up to contender. So in my opinion, I think that was a great Charleston. We have a hand with no gaps and 5 discards, potential joker bait in there. I think that was a great result. Does anybody have any questions? Let's do it one more time. Okay, so now we have 3 flowers. Whatever we do, we're going to use flowers. Hands down. 3 flowers, we're going to leverage flowers. We have east, south, green, red, singles, 5, 8 in bams, 5, 7 in cracks, 1, 2, 6 in dots. So this is when you look for the predominant pattern, because we do have a multiple with flowers, but flowers can be used all over the card. 44% of the hands use flowers. So we look at the rest of our tiles and see if there's a predominant pattern. We could do winds and dragons. That would not be predominant though, because it's only 4 tiles. But we could maybe do, let's see here, we've got 2 5s. So let's say we maybe look at 5, 6, 7. We could pass 1, 2, 8. And now we have the best of both worlds. We have like numbers with 5s and news, third hand down. We could do east and west with dragons, second hand from the bottom under winds and dragons. We could also do 5 bam, 6 dot, 7 crack with a pair of flowers in consecutive run. So we could maybe play in 3 different categories. We don't technically have to pick a hand yet till we run out of discards, but at least we have a start and we have a pass. It's a little bit risky, but that's okay. Our focus is to optimize our own potential and then do the best we can with what we have left over. And that's what we do here. Oh, Karen, thank you. That's very nice of you to say that. All right, so let's keep going. All right, we paired up 5 bam and we have a north. Since we have a multiple formed, you reassess. So you start with your multiple. With flowers and a multiple of 5s, what can you do with these tiles here? Maybe 5, 6, 7. Mixed Kongs, third hand down on the right, or like numbers with 5s and news. Since the pair is there, I would give up on the dragons, especially because we have flowers. There is that hand in like numbers with 5s and dragons, but we have no 5 dot. That is a gap. So the dragons will go. Plus we have a pung of flowers. So I would let the dragon go. Now here's the challenge. We're going to pass 2 dragons. I would not do that. I would mitigate the risk and focus on news with 5s. Probably let the 6 dot go since it's a different suit than the 9. So we're going to pick a hand. When you start getting risk in your pass, that's when you want to look at what hand maybe you could pick. That is when you would want to pick a hand. Otherwise, you stay high level until you get to either a level of risk or you have to make a decision in that pick and discard phase of the game because one of your tiles goes down. Okay, so here we have a keeper, a west. We have 3 tiles to pass, and I would break up that dragon, no problem. So we have news. That is equivalent to a Kong, so it's strength. Plus we have a pair of flowers, and we have 2 5s. 1 is a pair. It's a really strong potential here. I would just keep going. Keep going. That's a little bit risky, but it's okay because we have developed our hand pretty well. I would take that risk. Now we have another wind. I would keep it because we've got tiles we can pass. Maybe we could switch to the 4th hand down under news and use the 5 bam as joker bait. If we get more wins, I probably would. Okay, now here, this is interesting. 7, 8, 8. I don't think our hand is strong enough to warrant passing 2 like numbers. I wouldn't do that. If we had another 5, or you know what we could maybe do is pass an east, but I don't think I would do that. I think what I would do here, because the 5s are weak, I would probably hold the east in case we get west and south and maybe play the 4th hand down under winds or play like numbers with 5s and news. And I would not pass like numbers. I would pass 1 blind. And now we have 3 tiles we can pass. So we ended up with 3 discards and 2 potential hands, really 4 discards because we have an extra flower. So I would say we're a contender because we have 2 hands with no gaps and 4 discards. And if we were to, maybe we're an underdog until we pick a hand, because you do want to know what hand you're playing. So I'd say we're an underdog until we pick either the 4th hand down under wins or news with like numbers, one or the other. Once you pick one of those and it's strong enough, then I would say you could bump up to contender and take on more risk when you get to the next part of the game, which is where we're going right now. So we're going to stop here and we're now going to play with robots. You ready? Here we go. Okay, we're going to play with level 2 bots. All right, we have flower, east, south, green, red, 1-3 band, singles, all singles there. When would you discard the flower? If I'm not using flowers, I discard them early. In that case that we were just in, I would probably discard it first because we only need a pair for both of the options that we were focused on. Fourth hand down under winds or news with flowers. We only needed a pair and we had no gaps for both options. So I would let the flower go first. Good question, Nancy. Okay, so now 7-9 in cracks with a pair of nines, 3-6, 7-9 in dots, singles. If these were your tiles, what would you target? And what category would you play? I'll give you 10 seconds if you want to opine in chat. You're welcome, Nancy. Okay, so when I look at these tiles, the first thing I see is 9 crack pair. That's where I would start. And then I would ask myself, what with the rest of my tiles could I do with the 9 crack? I've got another 9 crack. I could maybe play news with nines. Okay, now odds. Marilyn says odds. Well, there are odds in here, but there's a gap, no 5. So I would not play odds. But what I would do is I would consider 3-6-9. There is some 3-6-9 in here. And we would need to stop there because we've got to be able to pass. So this is what I would do. Like numbers with nines, maybe with news, or 3-6-9 of some kind. And when I say of some kind, I mean you play at the category level. Here we got sixes. So 3-6-9 is what I would focus on. And I would let the wins go at this point. With 3-6-9, we have a 9 crack pair and a 6 dot pair, so I would let the red dragon go. There's no hand in here that uses 9s and 6s in 2 different suits with a dragon. So I would break up the dragon. 3-6-9, opposite dragon. I would try to find a way to leverage the 9 crack though. You want to leverage, Misty, welcome by the way. So here's a 6 crack. So for example, 3-6 dot, 6-9 crack, that would use every multiple. Whereas that red dragon, either way, you would break up either the red dragon or the 9 crack, but I think there's more options with number tiles. It gives you a longer opportunity to gather tiles for more than just one hand. If we had picked the dragon hand, we would just pick a hand. Here, we don't have to pick a hand till we run out of discards. So we have more flexibility to see where the trend goes by focusing on the number tiles. So that's how I would play it. 3-6-9, probably the first hand here. Here's a 9 bam. And we can keep going. We've got tiles to pass. So I would just keep on going. Okay, 9 dot. Now is when we pick a hand because we only have 2 discards. We pick a hand right now. We have all keepers other than those 2 clear discards. 3-6-9 in dots, pair 6, pair 9. We also have 6-9 in dots or cracks. We have a 9 crack pair and a 9 bam also. We could play the second hand down, single pair pung with pungs of 9s, and that is probably what I would do. So I would probably break up the 6 and then later pass the 3 and the 6 and focus on single pair pung, pung, pung with flowers, second hand down. Could you do the 3-6-9? Well, there is potential there, but we're in the optional, or we're in the cross pass, so we have to break up our hand. But yeah, we could play that pair hand, maybe. Let's just see if we get some tiles back. Okay, so we have a 3 dot, here's 6 crack. Let's just put them back. So we have 3-9 in bams, 6-9 in cracks, 3-6-9 in dots, and a flower. We have 2 clear discards. I think I would let the 3 bam go so we could pass fully. And let's see what we get. But yes, the pair hand, There's potential there. We got a 6 back, but we have no 3 crack. So the 3 crack, yeah, I don't think I would play the pair hand. I think I would play, in this case, the second hand down, although there was potential there. So we have 2 discards, and we actually have joker bait. Technically, we have 3 discards with joker bait. So I'd say we're probably a front runner on this one. I think I would just keep the 6 crack there for a while and that 3 dot just to see what happens. I would say we're a front runner on this one. So let's see how we do. We're focused on the second hand down at the moment. We have an extra 3 dot. Okay, now there's an 8 dot pair. We don't need it. I would rather keep my 3, 6, 9, so I'm going to let it go. Now this is where you would need to make a decision to pung for that second hand down. Because we have no gaps, I would do it. I would call and pung because we have a hand with no gaps. So I'm going to commit, and we'll try to use the 6 crack for joker bait. The 6 or the 3 dot will be a discard. We have our single and our pair 3, 6. We need a flower, and then we can pung the other 9s here. Okay, let's pung. All right, now we're going to need a joker for the 9 bam. 2 9 bams just went down. There's our flower. So now we're looking for a joker or a 9 bam. We got another flower. Now we don't need another flower, so I would let it go now. That's why. We don't want to hold on to it because it gives your opponents more time to gather. So yeah, not surprised. Okay, so we have a Kong of flowers and a pung of 7s. We got the joker, and we're ready to win on a 9 bam now. And there's 1 more left. Nobody wants it because 2 were thrown and nobody took them. So we have a really good chance of winning. I'd say we're a front runner, and we're at 77 tiles. We just entered the 3rd wall. So we are a clear front runner, but there could be other front runners at the table. So it's not a guarantee. Mahjong. We got it. 3, 6, 9 with 9s. Second hand down under 3, 6, 9. And we won at 75 tiles remaining. That was a really quick build. And working with the number tiles is better than drilling deeper with a dragon. And that was kind of the lesson learned there. Thank you for the kudos. Okay, let's go again. So now we have what I call a widespread. This is when you look for the strength of the hand, the predominant pattern. And what I look for is like numbers to help me quickly target a pattern. So we have like numbers with 5s and like numbers with 6s. 5, 6 is consecutive. So that's what I would play. Consecutive run, 5, 6. Some kind of 5, 6. So I would look at the rest of my tiles and think, what is there any other consecutive numbers I could use with 5, 6? Not really. We have no 4 or no 7, but we do have wins, which we might be able to use if we do, for example, north and south with offsuit Kongs, 3rd hand down. We could do north south with 5, 6. So I would probably let a dragon go, break up the 8 and pass a 3. 8, 3, you can't use that together, and the dragon does not correspond. So that's how I would start this one. Okay, we got a south, and we have our first multiple, the 6 bam. So we have 2 multiples now, 6 bam north or south, north and south with Kongs, 3rd hand down. And I would just focus there because we have a hand here with no gaps. I would just go ahead and pick it because we've got no gaps there. North and south with 5, 6. let's see. Now we could maybe switch to north and south with like numbers. Or news with like numbers, I mean. So maybe keep the 6 crack for a little bit. Bam, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, 5, 6, bam, Joker 7, red dragon. I missed that. I don't know. I would not dedicate a Joker this early. I would focus on where we have no gaps. I think I missed your comment there. We have a bit of a delay. Okay, so now we have, here's 5. Okay, so here's a trend. 5, 6, 7, and bams. The 8, the 1 can go. We have 5, 6, 7, north and south. North and south. I would let the 6 crack go here. Joker as a 7. I would not dedicate a Joker in the Charleston. I would rather focus on an option where I have no gaps. We have no gaps for north and south with 5.6 bam. So you don't have to dedicate a Joker. You can let it free and allocate it when you need it later in the game. So here we also have a choice with the 5th hand down under the wind hand, north and south with a run, but it's weak. We only have 1 pair. Okay, now here we would have to make a choice. I would keep going. This is where you might think, oh, I need to stop the Charleston because I have a couple of hands that are strong, maybe, but I have red dragon with 2 2s. I would not do that. I would not pass that. Instead, I would pick a hand and let something go. I would probably play north and south with 5, 6. Probably let the 7 go. Okay, so now we have tiles we can pass. Still tiles we can pass. Actually, that is an option. We can let the 8 bam go. Oh my gosh, someone gave us 2s and a 1 2. Woo, that's risky. Okay, so I'd probably let the 5 bam go and pass fully. So 5, 1, 2. And we got a keeper. Okay, so now we have north and south with Mixu Kongs. We have an option with the 5 or the 7. 4 discards with an option. I would say we're a contender here because we could pung the south, pung the north, Kong the 6. All we need to do is get a Kong of one of these other tiles, and we can use Jokers if we need to. So I would say we're probably a contender, barely. Yep, and I would discard the flower. Now we have Joker bait. So I would say we're confirmed a contender because we may be able to get a Joker with that too. I'll have to watch the repost, Misty, because I don't know about that. Okay, 5 dot, there's our Kong tile. So let's let the dragon go. We're 1 away from set. Look at those flowers out there. Okay, we don't need wins. Pure Kong. Now, Joker bait works the ideal time to discard Joker bait is around 60 tiles remaining. That's our Joker bait. Nobody wanted it, so I would let it go, especially because it's a year tile. Somebody might be playing your hand. Here's a Joker up for grabs now. Nobody wanted the 2 crack. Okay, so we have a Pung and a Kong. So they are likely playing like numbers with flowers. They're going to have a hard time. There are 5 already out. 3 crack Kong with a 3 bam Pung. Okay, let's let the 2 go. Now we have a 7 crack pair. Let's see if we can get a joker out of that one. Okay, let's discard the 7 crack. Nobody wanted it, but we're now set. We can Kong the 5 dot, Kong the 6, Pung the north and the south. So I'd say we can bump up to front runner here. Oh, thank you, Misty. Okay, we don't need a 2. Okay, we're going to call. Pung. Call. Come. Okay, we're at 47 tiles. We're still in the middle game. We're in the end game now. Joker, ready to win. Ready to win on a 6 bam or a north. And it looks like nobody's playing wins. Oh, there we go, east and west. So north should be fine. Oh, they have a 1-3-3-5 over here to the right. Little odds. Oh, there's a couple jokers up for grabs right there. Well, there's only one because there's a 7 crack out. Uh-oh, this is going to be a little risky. 7, 8. Because there's 6 flowers are out, I'm going to risk discarding this 9 crack. They could be playing 7, 8, 9. I'm going to risk it. Yeah. Oh, it was the other player. 9 crack. They had it east-west with 2 columns, but they had 2 exposures, and they could have had 7s or 9s. I would still have played to win because we were on a double weight, 6s or norths, and our tiles were in the wall. Nobody would have wanted them. So I would have played to win on this one regardless. Okay, here we go. East, west, pair, east, 3, 4, 5, 4 bam pair, 2 crack, 1, 6, 8, 9, and dots pair 6. So we have 4 bam with a 6 dot pair. And we also have a pair of east in here. East and west with 3, 4, 5. There's a hand with no gaps. It's a little weak, but we also do have some potential for 2, 4, 6, 8. So maybe what we could do is keep the 6 dot and the 8. If we get a 2 bam, for example, we can pass 1, 2, 9 and just see what develops. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming, Karen. Okay, so we have a 6 dot pung now. Red dragon we don't need. 7 bam we don't need. So now we need to make choices. We have no 2 bam, so I would not play evens. I would focus on some kind of consecutive hand. Actually, you know what we could do is let the wins go. Maybe even that east. And do 3, 4, 5, 6. If we get a 2 bam, we could do 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, now there's a 4 bam, 4 dot, green east with, let's say, 3, 4, 4, 8. Let's see. Let's let the 4 dot go. There's the 2 bam. Okay, so we're going to keep going. 2, 4, 6, 8. ER 6, 4. East. I would not play a quint, though, Misty, without jokers right now. You're thinking of the joker, the quint. I would not play a quint with no jokers at this point, personally. I mean, you could try that, but you wouldn't have any recourse until you get jokers. Instead, I would focus on finding a hand with no gaps, like right here now, 2, 4, 6, 8, no gaps. Okay, so we have 3, 4, 5. Let's just keep an eye on that trend right there. But we do have tiles we can pass here. Let's take a peek here though. Here's 3, 4, bam, 5, 6, dot. We're kind of in between. This 5, bam, can go and we can play both until we see which one will be stronger. Okay, so no keepers in there. We can do 2, 4, 6, 8 or 3, 4, 5, 6, and that would leverage both of those multiples. Okay, there's the 5 dot. So there's our answer. 3, 4, bam, 5, 6 dot. 3, 4, 5, 6. And we would have 3 tiles to pass. 2, 8, 1. So we have joker bait and 2 discards. We're a front runner again because we have 2 discards, joker bait, and a hand with no gaps. 3, 4, 5, 6, second hand from the bottom on the right under consecutive run. We need a 3 bam in here. Here's a joker we can leverage now. Let's let the wind go. We can pung the 3 or Kong the 5, 6. Flower, I would not keep that now because these robots love Kongs of flowers, as you can see. Oh, 3 jokers. Okay, now here's where we need to make a choice. Do we take that 3, 4, 5, 6? I think I would because Wes has 2 exposures. I want to try to stay in the lead. If he's a front runner, I want to be a front runner too. I'm going to pung. 6 bam. Let's let that go. So we have a 2 crack pair we don't need. We're going to try to get it to 60 tiles if we can. That is a Kong for us, but we're not ready. So we're going to need a joker now. That's okay because there are 4 jokers up for open to buy, as it were. Another 6 bam. Okay, someone just swapped out a joker for the flower there. Oh, there's a couple jokers up for grabs. Oh my goodness. Okay, 3 dot. I don't see anywhere. There's another joker. Jeez. The jokers are insane here. Oh my gosh. Okay, so they have north south with opposite Kongs. Let's play again. Okay, we have almost news here. Otherwise, we have a wide spread. 2, 6, 7, 9 in bams, 2, 3, 8 in cracks, 3, 4 in dots. So I look for like number potential because that usually reveals a pattern. So we have like numbers with 3s and 2s. That's 2, 3, which is consecutive. So I would hold 2, 3, 4. We could maybe play like numbers with 2s and news. And that leaves us with tiles to pass. It's a little bit risky, but we got to focus on our own hand first. So there's a 4, 2, 3, 4 of some kind. Here's 6, 7, 8. Little risky. There's a north. Now we have news. So now we pick. We have either like numbers with 2s, like numbers with 4s, or like numbers with 2, 3, 4, one or any one of them. So if an 8 crack is out, I think I would let probably the 3 go. Otherwise, we'd be passing evens. So now we have either like numbers with 2s or 4s. There's a 2. So now we let the 4s go. And we'll keep going. Let's break up the 4. So now we're left with a 3, 4 in different suits. Okay, we have tiles we can pass. We're looking at like numbers with 2s and news. There's a keeper, and we have tiles we can pass. Well, I would keep that west. We still have 3 tiles we can pass. Okay, so we have 4 discards and a hand with no gaps. So I would say we're a contender. And we can take moderate risk. Call anything. Yeah, we're gathering. There's another wind. I would hold it. Let's see. Let's let the 5 dot go. If we get more wins, we could consider the 4th hand down, but I still think we're closer to news with 2s for now. There's a north. Now, if we get a flower, no, we need a flower regardless. We could do concealed hand. I would consider the news concealed hand because then that would leverage the pair of north. We never, I don't remember if we had a white dragon. We weren't ready for that 2 band. Three band pair. I would let it go. It's already out. Can't do anything. We're in gather mode. Okay, now here's an interesting situation. We're thinking about news with like numbers, and there's a pung with a joker. Let's see if we can get to it. I would take it and switch to the 4th hand down under wins. Probably use it for the east. And then I would probably expedite this pair too. Let that go next. Okay, so nobody wanted it. We're going to let the 6 dot go next. Okay, nobody wanted the 6 dot. Oh, I see that. I see that, Misty. The reason I didn't even consider that hand is because we had 2 pairs of 2s and no 4. That would be a gap. So I typically don't give much attention to any option where there's a gap, especially when I have a hand with no gaps. Yep, but the white dragon is a risky hope because there are 2 out, Misty. 2 white dragons are out and we needed a single, and that's a concealed hand. So that would be a risky hand to play because you wouldn't be able to call anything and there's only 2 left, and you had a gap of no 4 either. So it's the gap that brings on, that puts you in a risky spot. Gap equals risk. Okay, let's pung. We have a hand with no gaps. Even though we need jokers for the south, the east is out. So if we have any potential to win, we need to pung. So at this point, we need a flower and jokers for the south. There's still one more. White, we don't need it at this point. All the white dragons are down. No jokers up for grabs at the moment. Oh my goodness, look, pure exposures over there. So they're playing with a Kong. They need 9 cracks. There's a 9 crack right here, so they're not going to have a pure hand, but if we draw a 9 crack, we probably should fold. That should be safe. We're at 32 tiles. So we need to start thinking about safe discards here. They're playing a 2, 4, 6, 8 hand to the right. Okay, now we have 1 exposure there to the left. 7 bam should be safe. It was just thrown right there. 6 bam was thrown recently. 5 crack was just thrown. We have 4 more picks each. 5 more. 5 picks. Okay, so Misty, I see your comment there. The reason I let the 4 bam go is because we had 2 pairs of 2s and news. So my eye was focused on news with like numbers. 3rd hand down, and we had no white dragon. So that would be a gap. And that's why I did not focus on a year hand. A single tile claim is safer than needing a pair when 2 are out. So if you were playing a year hand and you had 2 pairs of 2s, you would have to break up a pair. I prefer to leverage the pair, the multiples. So that's why I chose news with like numbers, because it leveraged 2 pair as opposed to breaking 1 up. There may have been potential for a year hand, but with 2 pairs of 2s and news, you'd have to let one of those pairs go. I chose to leverage it. And this is where beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You can make almost anything work, and it's up to the player to make that choice. So now we drew a 9 crack. That is their probable winning tile. So we're going to fold. We have 4 more picks, and we need 2 jokers, and the likelihood of us getting 2 jokers is slim to none. There's 1. Oh yeah, we need a flower too. Red dragon, 1, 2, 3 are out. Aha. 1, 3, 3, 5. Look at the jokers there. Goodness. All right, so let's see what we can do here. We have east, west, green, white. We have a white dragon, Misty. 1, 2, 5, 8 in bams. 1, 2 in cracks. 1, 2, 3, 4 in dots. Widespread. So I look for like numbers just to identify a pattern. We have like numbers with 1s, 2s, 1, 2. So I would focus on 1, 2. But I would also think about a year hand, since we have a white dragon. So I would hold 1, 2, 3, 4 and let dragon 5, 8 go. I wouldn't pick a hand yet. I would gather. So 1, 2. Are you talking about the pair hand, Misty? Play the pair hand? There is some potential for the pair hand, but I wouldn't pick a hand right now. I would gather. Anytime you have discards, you don't have to pick a hand, but there is potential there. I agree. There's a 2 dot. Here's almost news. So now we have to make some choices. I probably would focus on 1, 2, 3 of some kind and let go of the wins. And I would even let that dragon go and probably play 1, 2, 3, 4 of some kind. Okay, there's a 1 now. Okay, and I would probably, we have a 1, 2 dot, 3 dot, 1. We do have potential for that pair hand. So, and it did develop because of the 1, 2 dot. We have a 4 dot though. Here's a hand with no gaps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. I think I would let the 4 go and try for this pair hand. Okay, let's just see. We're going to let the wins go. The 4 dot came back. Here's tiles we can pass. Still, we have, let's see. There's tiles we can pass here. I would pass 2. So we don't pass like numbers. And now we have 3. We got a 1 dot pung. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would say we're an underdog until we pick a hand. We don't have to pick a hand yet. I would gather and see. We have a pung of 1s. We may not play the pair hand. Evens concealed. No. Evens concealed. We had only 1 8. So that would be a pair gap. So I would not recommend that. That would be a pair gap. I would not even consider year with evens evens concealed. No, we have a pung of 1s. I would leverage the 1. Oh, delay. Okay. Okay, so there's a 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Gosh, I would love to get a 3 crack. We could play the concealed hand. Right now, that is a pair gap, so I wouldn't put too much attention there. I think it's looking pretty good for this pair hand, though. Maybe. There's 1 through 5 here. 1 through 5. Okay, now we have a joker. So I would let go of the pair hand at this point. I would maybe do 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. We have a pair gap, no 3 crack. So I'd probably focus on 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 suit, or 1 through 5. So I would probably let the 1, 2 and crack go. Hi, Lisa. Yeah, that pair hand is a bit of a mind bender. Okay, there's 2 jokers up for grabs here. That is a pair for us or a Kong. Either way, we can't call it. 2 bam. I would love to get a 3 crack. 4, 5, 6, 7. They need 6 crack Kong. Okay, that I would ignore that because there's a 4 dot out and we would need a pair. I would ignore that 5 dot. Okay, 2 dot. Since we have pung pung now, I would focus on 1, 2, 3, 4 pung pung Kong Kong. And let the 5 dot go. If we get a 3 crack, we could do 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That's an if though. So that would be a long shot. We're not ready for that. We're not ready for that either. We're going to need jokers. There's a 3 dot though now. There's a joker up for grabs. Lots of jokers up for grabs here. Okay, really nice to get one in here. Somebody got a joker. Nobody wanted the 2-bam. Four dot. How many 4 dots are out? Yeah, they're out. Plus the white dragons are out. We're an underdog on this one. We need jokers.
No.
Okay, now they didn't take the north. I hope they're not playing a quint.
6 dots. 6 dots.
Let's let the 2 go. You know what we could do now? 1, 2, 3 Kongs. Let's see if we can get a flower in here. 1, 2, 3 Kong, third hand down under. Oh, we had an option that came in, but they got a keeper. All right, let's play one. We'll probably be able to play 1 or 2 more hands here. Okay, so we have Joker, South, green, white, 2-bam 5, 9-bam pair, 7, 8 and cracks, 2, 6 dot. Since we have a 9 and a 6, I would play either 6, 7, 8, 9 or 3, 6, 9 if we get threes. So I would start with consecutive run and then see if threes come in and just start there. I think actually I would let a dragon go here. There's a 3. Okay, now we have a pair of souths. We have a joker. At this point, I would consider playing that second quint. Let's let the 7 go here. I would consider the second quint because we do have a joker. Here's a 9 dot. We do have tiles we can pass. 8 crack. 8 crack, 1, 4, 8. A little bit risky. Oh, thank you, Lisa. Okay, 3 crack here. 2, we should definitely keep going. Okay, I would let one of these threes go, I think. There's 3, 6, 9 is not really gelling right now. There's another 3. Okay, we got like numbers with 8s. I would just break them up. Let's see. So we have 3, 6, 9, 3, 9. They're not gelling. And we have no flowers. I would focus on the quint. South 6, 9. So I would probably pass 3, 8 with a dragon and let the 3, 8 here go. You can't use a 3 with an 8. Okay, so let's do 8, 3 with a dragon. No keepers, but we did end up with a 6. We could maybe switch to like numbers with 6s. You never know. We do have 4, 5, 6 in there somewhere, maybe. So probably I would let the 4 go. Oh, look there. We got a south. So I would focus on this quint and make it happen. I would try to force it because we have a ways to go for quint. So with an option though, let's see. I probably would keep the 9 and the 6, maybe even the 7 and the 5 in case we get a north. Because we could do north and south with offsuit Kongs maybe as an option if we don't get jokers. Because we've got to have at least one more joker, and we need to build up our multiples. Okay, so let's let the 2 dot go. There's 3, 6, 9 now. I think what I would do here is let the 5, 7 go and see what happens. 3, 6, 9 comes in. We do have a hand with no gaps. 3, 6 dot, 6, 9 bam. Seven. We have 6, 7, 6, 7 kind of developing in there a little bit. The 8 crack, not out yet. I was thinking 6, 7, 6, 7, 8 crack pair, concealed consecutive hand. But that would be a pair gap, which I would not focus on. Okay, let's let the 9 go. Pure pong. Oh, we don't want a dragon at all. Nope.
4 call 1
Kong South. I would try my darndest to get this quint. If the South were to have gone down versus picking it, yes, I would have called it. Or, and if it didn't work out where we didn't get jokers, I would just play defense. But because of the way this is developing, I probably would try to force a quint. We did get a west. There's a north and a west out. We could potentially keep that. Let's let the night go. No. Okay, there's a north. There's 2 east out. I would let the 6s go here. I would still probably try to play that quint, but if we keep getting wins, we could maybe play this first hand under wins. It's a hand of least resistance. So's the quint, but we have only 1 joker at the moment. We're good. All right, I would let the wins go. It's just not working.
9
3 crack. Okay. Surprised nobody took that one. Okay, we're in the end game. Probably we will fold. I would let that 7 go next. Someone got a joker. Ooh, joker up for grabs. They got it? Oh, geez. Okay, let's see. That's our quintile, but we're not ready. There it goes. Oh, Mahjong. Like numbers with 4s. What time is it? We could probably squeeze in 1 more. I'm going to do a speed round. So hold your horses. We have pair 5, 6. So I would play 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6 of some kind. That means category level till we run out of discards. 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2 can go, south can go, red can go, or green, let's say. Okay, there's a 6. So we pass. Now here, I would not pass like numbers. This 3 can go. So we have 4, 5, 6, and a 6. All right, so there's a 7. 4, 5 dot, 6, 7, bam. No gaps. There's a keeper. I would just focus on 4, 5, 6, 7. Hand with no gaps and 2 multiples. We have tiles with gaps. Okay, no keepers. Okay, no keepers there. Instead of passing like numbers, I would let the dragon go. Okay, no keepers there, but here's a 5, 6, 7, 8. I would probably, let's see, 5, 6, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7. I just like to reassess every now and then. I would pass 3. One of each suit.
1 card.
Okay, so we have 4 discards in a hand with no gaps. I would say we are a contender.
Fire.
We could pung and kong. We need a little help with our 7 band.
8 band. 3 band.
Okay, let's let the 1 dot go. We can let that go next. Well, I like to discard year tiles if I'm not using them. Okay, so looking better now. We needed a little help with that 7 band. 4, 5, 6, 7, pung, pung, kong, kong. Okay, let's let the 8 dot go. We have 5, 6, 8. We've got 4, 5, 6, 7, pung, pung, kong, kong here. That's a pung for us. Well, our hand is set. I would play to win fast. Play hard here. Okay, Joker over there. Someone got it already. Goodness. So clearly they're doing a north-south over there since they didn't pay any attention to those east. Okay, we're at 48 tiles. We need to let these efficiency tiles go here. Okay, we're narrowing into a triple weight here. Oh, okay, we're at 32 tiles remaining, 8 picks left. That 5 dot will be good and safe. Here we'll call for a con. So now we're ready on a double weight, either a 4 dot or a 6 dot, a 6 band.
5 band. Call. 7 dot.
There we go. Mahjong. Woohoo! All right, so being you're going for the win and no tile tracker, you discard whatever you don't need, regardless of the new tile. If I'm playing to win, I let it go. And I think at the time I wasn't concerned about the other players. It looks like the player on our right was ready to win on a flower or flower. They needed a flower on the right. And then on the left, they were ready to win. So there were 2 other front runners at the table. I would still play to win. Shall we do a speed round? Are you up for a speed round? Because we have 6 minutes. Okay, we have a wide spread. 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 7, 9 in bands, 2, 4, 8, 9 in cracks, 1, 2, 8 in dots. Since we have no multiple, I look for like numbers. We have 2s, 4s, no 6. That's a gap. I would play 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, because there's a gap. No 6 for 2, 4, 6, 8. So I would let the 9, the 8, and the 7 go. Speed round. Okay, we have a 4 band pair. So 2, 3, oh, here's a 1, 2, 3, 4, no gaps, 1, 2 dot, 3, 4. The 2, 4 in cracks is a bit, they're isolated. I would probably let the 2 go here. Okay, here's a 1 band. 4 dot, tiles to pass. Now that's a little bit risky. We do have some potential for the quint flower hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Just a little bit. There's a 5. Okay, I would keep going. 8, 9. Now we let something go. We have 1 through 5 in here with a pair of 4s. We could do 1, 2, 3. We have no 3 dot, 4, 4. Let's let the 4 dot go. No keepers. We got a keeper, 3 bam. So let's see. We have 3, 4 paired up. 1, 2, 3, 4 dots and bams. Let's see. 1 through 5 we could do. I would pass that. No keepers. There's a keeper. 1 through 5. I would let this flower go probably. We have 2, 3, 4 though. Could be Kongs. We may be able to use that flower if we get a pair. But we can play the first 1 through 5 hand. We now have a dragon corresponding or otherwise second hand down. So we have lots of opportunities in the consecutive category. I wouldn't pick a hand until we get a little bit more. There's a 4 bam. So I would not play the second hand down. Therefore, I would let the dragon, the white dragon go. And I probably wouldn't play the first hand either. I would do either 2, 3, 4, 5, pung, pung, kong, kong, second hand from the bottom on the left, or the dragon hand, 2, 3, pair, pair, pungs, 4, 5. And then the dragon, though, just went down. We're not ready, so probably let that go. I would probably play 2, 3, 4, 5, pung, pung, kong, kong. There's a flower now, though. Let's see if we can get a 2 or a 3 bam in here. Or we need to Kong if we use the flowers. There's a 1 bam now. 1, 2, 3, 4, pung, pung, kong, kong. Let's let that go 1 time. If another 1 bam goes down, I would probably call. For pung, pung, kong, kong, use the flowers as joker bait, which is really not good joker bait, even though these robots do jump at jokers with flowers. They'll expose 2 jokers with a pair of flowers. Okay, so we're not gonna do 5 bam, because we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a pung of 4s. So that we would need to Kong or pung. Kong. 1, 2. We're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, pung, pung, kong, kong, or 2, 3, 4, Kong. So we're not ready. We can let that go. It'd be ideal to get a joker for that 3 bam. Okay, we're at 50 tiles. We'll let one of these go here. Let's let the flowers go. Nobody wanted it. Okay, now let's let this, I want to let the flower go first. We'll let the 6 go next. There we go. Joker bait worked. Someone got it first. Dang it. Okay, now we have an 8 dot pair. I think it's already out though. All right. It looks like we have good discards. This 2 dot might be a little bit risky. That's a keeper. Okay, 3 crack. It's kind of funny that we got that 5 bam, but we don't need it. It looks pretty. Oh, I don't want the dragon. 3 more picks. Keeper. Nobody wants the 5 dam. There's a little help for us there. Oh, darn it. Oh, look how close we got. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, those were some really good games. If you have not played it at I Love Maj before, check it out. It's a great platform, especially if you're new to the game or an intermediate player on the fast track to improving your game. That exercise room is fantastic. Lots of really good opportunities to build your skills. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it, and I love the interaction. Thank you so much for participating in the live chat. If you're watching the repost, write your comments in the comment section below. We'll be back at 4 p.m. Eastern time for another 2-hour Let's Play live stream. We call this one Nitty-Gritty Basics because we cover more basic skills and strategies. And then in the next session, we're going to focus on more advanced strategies. We're going to do hop choice strategy by wall. And there are a lot of really good fundamentals there. So if you're a beginner and you are interested in improving your strategies during the pick and discard phase of the game, join us again or watch the repost if you can't do the 2-hour live stream, because it'll be up there shortly afterwards for watching the repost. Thank you so much, moderators, for helping monitor the chat. Again, channel members, thank you so much for supporting MAHJLIFE. Any questions? Any questions? Otherwise, we'll be back again at 4 p.m. Eastern time for another round of Mahjong Madness. All right, I'll go ahead and sign off. We'll see you again in an hour. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing. Click the little gray bell if you do. That way you'll get notification for when I post new videos, and you won't miss an opportunity to learn a new strategy or pick up an insight to the game that could give you an advantage at the table. Between now and the next video, may all your picks be keepers.